Bienvenue and welcome to our very special East Coast art party. I am your host Leonard, and welcome once again to one of our art party nights. Tonight we are going to be painting Le Vino, this wine painting right here. I sincerely hope you have a glass of wine right now, enjoying and doing the painting with a little liquid courage. For equipment, for our supplies tonight, you will need to have a little yellow paint, some blue paint, bleu, as we say in France, some red or rouge paint, le noir or black paint, and the white paint, le blanc. Also, you will need as equipment, you will have a large brush, a medium brush, and a petite brush, a small brush. A couple of plates for mixing your paint and pouring the paint and making the beautiful colors that we will have to make this beautiful painting tonight. Without any more rambling on that I will do, I would like to welcome our artiste extraordinaire, Jeffrey, to paint the wine glass for you. Enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you, Leonard. I don't have a very good fake French accent because I can actually speak French.
Nothing fake about it.
So I'm just going to speak in a normal voice. But thank you, Leonard, for that great introduction. And here we are with this wine glass. This is one of our actual original paintings that we did 5 years ago, I think, when we were called Art After Dark. So this is the painting we're going to be doing, and as Leonard mentioned earlier, we're going to be using 3 brushes for this event. So again, they don't have to be the exact same size as these ones, but a larger brush, a medium brush, and a smaller brush. Paint-wise, probably not going to be using some blue. We're going to be using our white, our black, our yellow, and our red. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be using blue for this event, so you can put the blue away. We're not going to need that. So for this painting, you see right here, we're going to be starting in the middle, and we're going to do a light yellow-ish color, and we're going to bring it out. We're going to paint fairly quickly here because we want to go from each color to each layer while it's still wet, so it blends in nicely together to get that nice background. So we're going to be doing like a whitish yellow into a yellow, into an orange, into a red, into a darker red, and then we'll have our background, and then we'll draw the wine glass on, fill it with wine. Hopefully you're doing the same at home. And yeah, that's it. Wanted to mention, because we have a lot of people asking, where can you see these videos? We post the videos on our Facebook page, and they're up there for good. So you can go back and replay it, or if you didn't get a chance to do it the night that we do it, you want to go see it, just on our Facebook page at East Coast Art Party. Click on videos on the left-hand side. All of our videos are going to be there. We have, geez, I don't know how many we have now. We must have close to 10. But anyways, they're all going to be up there. You can review them, repaint them. Okay, well, let's get started. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab our large brush, and we're going to take some white. You're going to put it on your little plate here. Now what I'm going to do here actually, I think we're going to take white, and we're just going to start right in the middle with this white. You're probably not going to be able to see it on the camera here because it's white paint on white canvas. I'm just going to make the shape kind of like a lemon, going from corner to corner. Very thin lemon, or like a seed of some sort. Just going to be white right in the middle. The reason I'm doing this, because I want it to be white and then go into like a light yellow. So I'm going to use my same brush with the white still on it. I'm going to take a very tiny bit, or as Damon says, a pinprick of yellow, and I'm going to put it on either side, and I'm just going to bring it out a little bit. Okay, you don't need to add more yellow. We're going to use what's on the brush. and we're just going to bring it around using that same direction that we had that white in. You can bring a little bit inside as well, into the white. You see, the more that I brush it, the lighter it gets because it's picking up some of that white. We just want to get that nice blended tone. We don't want it to be too stark of one color. Okay, so see, it looks very blurry because it's blended in nicely. We got white blending out to a pale yellow. And again, we're going to work fairly quick when we're doing this background, but you can always pause the video and you can always rewind it. We got that part on here. Next thing we're going to do, we're not going to bother washing the brush at all. I think it's the computer that was pinging. You're going to use the same brush. We're going to go into straight yellow. Okay, so a little bit of yellow, and we're going to work on the outside of this pale yellow that we did. Just going to put a little bit on here. If you find that you put too much on your brush, you can always take some of it off with a napkin or a cloth, whatever you have. And I'm just going to do the same thing. I'm going to blend it down. I'm going to blend a little bit into that previous pale yellow, and I'm also going to bring it out a little bit. Less is more. You don't want too much on your brush. You want to just keep using what you put on the canvas or what's on the brush and keep brushing it over, especially where the transition is, like where that yellow is meeting the pale yellow. Just lightly brush over that area so it blends in nicely so there's not like a straight line. And again, we're keeping in that same shape, basically going from corner to corner here. A little bit more yellow here. Okay, so now that we have the straight yellow, we have the white into the light yellow into the straight yellow. We don't have to wash our brush again because we're blending these all in together. So now we're going to take a little bit of red, put it on your plate. You can take a little bit of yellow, mix that into the red. We're going to make a light orange. We want it to be more yellow than red. So you can just keep adding more yellow. I'd say we're about 70% yellow, 30% red. The darker color is the more dominant one, so you don't need as much red. Okay, so we got this nice lighter orange here, and I'm going to do the same thing. Start on the outside of the yellow, and you're going to bring it out. You don't need a lot of paint here. Just continuing on with that same shape. I'm going to blend it in a little bit. So now that I have that on there, I'm also going to take some more yellow onto my brush. I'm just going to go over that line where it is, where the yellow is meeting the orange, dust over it so it blends it in a little bit, bring it out a little bit. Go up here. Put more yellow again. Go over this side. See how it's like blending it in? Because you don't want to see that line. You want it to kind of blend. And we're going to go over this a little bit later too to help it blend out with a little bit more white. So don't worry about any straight lines right now. Okay, so we have yellow, light yellow, or white to light yellow, into yellow, into an orange. Now we're gonna do the same thing, and we're gonna get a darker orange. So it's gonna be, just take some red, add it into that orange that you already have. We still want it to look orange, but we don't want it to look too red. Okay, so we're gonna do that. into my orange here. Same thing on this side. Always start on the outside of the previous color that you did and then just blend that line in so it transitions nicely into one another. Looking good. What we'll do later is we'll add a little bit more light yellow and we're going to bring it out over top of this orange to make it transition nicely. So now that we have the more of a red orange here, we're going to go into some just straight red. So you can wash your brush off a little bit. I'm going to get a napkin. I'm going to take off some of this color. I'm going to get some red, or as Leonard would say, some rouge. But I think he said rouge, like the makeup. And so this is just straight red. I'm gonna go on the outside of my orange here, just like right on the line. You can bring a little bit of that red into the orange so it blends in nicely so you don't see it line. Anytime you go to the edge of your canvas, see I'm going to the edge up here, continue on with that color up top and on the edge. So over here, I'm gonna paint this red right here. Okay, I'm going to use a little bit of red down here. Come see. Come ça. And again, if we're working really fast, you can't keep up, pause the video, rewind it, come back to it. I'm working quick because we don't want these layers to draw in between. Otherwise they won't blend in together nicely. Okay, so now we got that red on there. And now we are going to add on our plate, take some red and take, again, as Damon would say, a pinprick of black. Mix it into that red. It's gonna make a little bit of a darker shade of red, okay? We're gonna do the same technique. We're just gonna add that on the outside of that previous red that we had and bring it into it a little bit. Bring it right up here, close to the edge of the corner here. And again, don't forget your tops and your edges. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing. Just these darker colors are only going to go in the top left and the bottom right hand corner, okay? My edges here. I have to pick it up. Actually, I'm going to just flip it around here so I can. Edge. Okay, and now we're going to just use that same dark red that we have, but we're going to add a couple pinpricks of black into it to make a really dark, almost black red. So red, some black, very, very dark red. Okay, and we're going to finish these two corners off here and do our edges. again, to get that bottom corner, I'm probably just going to move it over like this. My edges. Okay. All right, so we have the base of that done. Now what I'm going to do, see, I noticed some of my corners here I still left. That's fine. I want you to wash your brush out, because what we're going to do, my scarf, I'm going to get some paint in it. We're going to add a little bit more yellow over top of this orange now that it's dried, and we're going to just blend that out towards these two corners, just like we have right here in this painting here. So I'm going to take some, and then we'll take a quick drying break when we're done here. So I'm just going to take large brush again. Once you get that cleaned off, we're going to take some yellow, add some white into it. We want it to be very pale yellow. Right here, very pale yellow. That's yellow. That's a little bit too yellow. This is just adding some white into it. That brush is dirty. It's turning red. So here we go. So I got some pale yellow here. Over the yellow, I'm just going to start lightening this part up here, just to bring that out a little bit. Very light brush strokes over the just over those edges that we had. Some of these brushes are all dirty. All right. Okay, and then I'm just going to bring some up.
Barely touching the canvas.
Barely touching this. I really want some yellow, and you can add a little bit more on. I want to bring some of the yellow up into the corners. So now I'm just adding, so I had white on there, I'm adding a little bit more yellow to the brush. Just want to bring it up into these corners. And what I'll do is once we get this on, we're just going to fill these two corners in with just straight red. So get a little bit of yellow on there, then you're just going to go with some straight red, large brush. We're just going to fill in these parts up here and your edges. And we're going to blend it out. Your edges here. And we'll let this dry, and then we can come and even touch up on it a little bit once we get back, once it dries a little bit. If you find that you had a little bit too much white on there or too much yellow, we're going to be able to go over that with some red. Just once it all dries, we just want to have the base on here first. So you notice I have a little bit too much white in some spots here, and just barely any paint on here, just dusting over a little bit. Helps it bring it all together. Okay, so we'll take a quick drying break, and we're going to come back, we'll touch up on it a little bit, and then we'll start drying the wine glass out. Right back.
This has been a very rough time. Very rough time. I hope everyone is enjoying themselves as and your painting looks something like this. I would like to ask you a trivia question. I'd like to keep the brains occupied and sharp during this very stressful time. The first trivia question I have for you. This food is eaten over outside of the home 90% of the time. This food is always eaten, or at least 90% of the time, outside of your home. Let's see it in the comments. Let's see some guesses. And now let's bring in Jeffrey the painter.
I have no idea what the answer to that question would be. Now, I don't know if we mentioned it earlier, but we will need a pencil or chalk or some type of drawing device that we are going to sketch on our wine glass and the shape of our wine going into the glass before we can get on to the next steps. Now, if any of you guys have watched any of these videos before, we have Damon over there. Say hi, Damon.
Hi!
He draws these nice little, they're not stencils per se, but it's a little kind of sketch just kind of show what it should look like to get the shape on there. So we can leave that up to the side here while I'm drawing that mine on, just so you can see the basic shape. Now, for the wine glass, the way we can do it, sketch it on nice and light, and then we're going to go over the details later with our brushes, darken it up and lighten it up. So we have, it's basically a circle right here. And then within that circle, you have like a quarter of a circle right here on the bottom. That's where the wine is. And later we'll do some splash kind of marks like waves to represent that the wine is coming in, it's kind of spilling up a little bit, and bring it up here a little bit. They're all going to look a little different, and that's fine. And then you're going to leave a little edge here where you have the wine pouring in, and this is just going to be coming from the corner. So we're going to have the wine coming from the corner into our cup, and the cup is just going to come off kind of down by where the other corner is here. So this is the shape that we're going to get. On the top of our circle, once you have the circle on there, we're going to do it's like a little rounded edge to represent the opening of the wine glass. See that? And then we just add the stem coming down. Now, we want the wine glass to be big enough that it doesn't look too small on canvas, and we want it to be big enough that our stem doesn't look too long, right? So you're really going to want the bottom of the wine glass to be about right there. And I'm going to want the top of my wine glass, I'm probably going to say about right here. Okay, and I'm going to leave this up for you all to see. You can follow along in case you're not able to see my pencil marks here. So I have the bottom part of my wine glass here, the top part of my wine glass right here. Now I'm going to draw that circle that we were talking about. Okay? Sketching on a circle. This is the basic shape of the sides of my cup. Okay? Once you have that on, the top part here, we're going to make the opening of the wine glass. It's like an oval. And then I'm going to have this part reach the edge of the oval at the top for the opening of the cup. Bring that line down, and don't worry about these sketch lines, we're going to paint all this later. Okay, so there we have our basic rounded part of the wine glass. And you can go rogue here and you can draw whatever type of wine glass you want. You might have a little fancier one. This is more of a round, ovally one. At the bottom, I'm going to have, so this is the middle part here. I'm just going to do a straight line right down. This is the stem. Make sure it's straight. You can use your paintbrush if you want to be your ruler, if you like, to have a straight line. So we want this to really come from here down. So I'm just gonna okay. And now right here, see this little triangle shape that's coming from the bottom of your glass into the stem to give that nice curve. So I'm going to go from the bottom of the cup on either side. Make that nice transition into the stem. And then the stem, just gonna get down here, bring it right down. And again, you can take your time with this. You can pause the video, you can rewind it, and the video is still going to be here. So wherever we have the basic shape of our glass. Next thing I'm going to do, so we have the bottom part here, this is where our wine is going to be falling into and flowing in. I'm going to start from the corner here, and I'm going to just bring this down. You just want to make it, you don't want to make it a straight line, so I'm just kind of make it a little wavy. And have this, it's going to hit this, gravity has it hitting this part of the cup first, and then it's slowly swooshing up this way. So I'm going to have it coming down here, and then we're just going to draw a line up like this. So when we paint this, all this is going to be wine color. Beautiful. And then you'll notice on the picture, we have our wine. You can just add a few, from this line, just add a few more little splash marks. Because water is not always straight, especially when it's flowing into a cup. Okay, so there we go. We have our shapes on there. Just leave this up for a second. Is there any answers to our trivia question? You want to take any guesses?
We have some very good guesses. Very good guesses.
Anyone getting the correct guesses?
Going to let you know the correct guess or the correct answer. Social distance, please. Of course, 90% people eat this outside of the home. French fries.
French fries.
La frita française. Oui. French fries. Going to ask you another question. Keep things going. Men are responsible for 90% of these.
French fries outside of the home.
That could be a very wide range of things, but men do this 90% of the time, as opposed to 10% for the ladies.
Start fights. Back to the wine
That's
glass.
about the 50-50.
That's about the 50-50. All right, so everyone have their wine sketched in. You got your glass. It's like a rounded circle with an oval up top for the opening. We're using our stem. We're kind of using this little, just coming from that glass, curving down into the stem, then straight down to the corner. And then we have our flow going up to the corner. Just make it very random. You don't want to go straight. You want it to be just flowing into the cup. And we add these marks. So the first thing we're going to do, and you might even still have some of that color on here from before, is that very dark red that we used with your medium brush. We're going to make a red wine color. So if you need to make more, essentially what we're going to be doing, using your medium brush, it's red with a little bit of black. You can play with this depending on what color you want your wine to be. You might want it to be dark red. You might want it to be more of a rosé color, so a lighter color. You can even do white wine if you want here, but I wouldn't really recommend it because you'd have to use like a pale yellow and it'll get lost in this background. So I'm making a red with a little bit of black. You want to make enough that it can fill the cup in the wine areas. And you're using your medium brush, and we're just going to paint this in. Okay, just painting it in the areas where I sketched in where the wine will be. Very nice. For all all you red wine drinkers out there, why don't you post in the comments after you guess Leonard's trivia question, what's your favorite type of wine? Share your knowledge with all those other people that are staying home and quarantining themselves. What's a good wine to drink? What's your secret go-to for red wine? You can just say Cab or Pinot Noir or whatever you want, or you can actually give some brands out there.
Un petit canard.
A Petite Canard. Little duck?
Little baby duck.
Is that a brand of wine?
2 liters for about $3.
Sounds like it's his homemade wine. Oh, we're just filling in this wine. Bring it right up to the corner. If you need to make more, just add more red to your plate, a little bit of black. And just keep filling that in. If you find that it's going on a little bit too dry, you can add a little bit of water to your brush before applying. It'll flow a little bit better. Take your time with this, no rush.
I'm going to answer the trivia question. I say, so people aren't in suspense. Men, the male species, are responsible for 90% of marriage proposals.
Oh, 90. I figured it'd be higher.
As did I.
So there.
All right, a another trivia question for you. The average single man uses 2 of these. However, the average single woman uses 4. What are they?
Interesting trivia, Leonard.
Well, I am a very intellectual man.
I don't know if you're French or Italian or Swedish. I can't.
Silence!
Or German? Okay. The average single man uses 2 of these, whereas the average single woman uses 4. Well, I'm sure we'll find out soon. Okay, so we got our wine poured into our cup. We're just going to have a quick little drying break here because we want this to dry before we start drying on the outside of the cup and give it in some texture. Well, we're going to do black on the outside, black from the stem of the cup, and then we're going to add some white highlights in the wine and in the cup. And then, as Len would say, Leonard, you're tout fini. We'll be right back. We're just going to have a quick little drying break, and we'll finish those next steps. we're back. How are you getting along with the wine glass so far? You got it all drawn on, you got the wine poured in. I'll leave this up here just in case people want to use that as a reference. So this should be fairly dry, depending on how thick you did it. It's fine. What we're going to do next is we're going to use our medium brush again, and we're going to fill in this bottom part of the cup, which is our stem, just with black. I can already tell that I have mine a little bit too, these lines a little bit too much, so I'm going to come in from that a little bit with my pencil. I'll go over this later. I'm just going to make that stem a little smaller. Looking more like a chalice than a wine glass. Don't worry about these, we can erase these later, or now. Or you can paint over it if you don't have your eraser. Or if it's chalk, it'll just wipe right off. Just want to make that a little bit smaller. Still want to just come from the bottom, gradually into that stem, straight down. C'est dangereux, ça. All right, so you're going to use your medium brush, and we're going to just paint that black. Anytime I'm using black, I like to have a little bit of water on your brush before you put the black on. You can even make a little pile of watered down black on your plate. Just keep introducing more water into the black. Anytime you go to apply, you want to make sure you kind of take some of it off, because the last thing you want is it to be dripping down and running down your canvas. That's a no-no. So I'm just going to get down here, and I'm going to paint the stem up.
You're using the edge of your...
Yeah, so with our brushes, I'm not using the thicker part, which is like this. I'm using the thinner part, just like that, okay? I'm just going to slowly brush this up. We're going to lighten this up later when we do a little bit of highlights at the end. All right. Right up.
You're not going to give the answer to the trivia question. The single men have two. Use to or have to?
What's the answer?
Single man uses two. Single woman uses cuatro. Pillows to sleep on.
Oh,
Pillows to sleep on.
interesting. And now people know.
Another trivia question. While people are finishing the stem on their wine glass, according to a new survey, 2/3 of single women say they're looking for a man who has one of these. Should be in some interesting answers to that question.
I'm going to say, can I guess?
Mary?
Career. A nice savings account? No?
Purely a bonus.
My scarf is a little messed up here. There you go.
The answer is not a striped scarf.
Straight from France. Okay, so once you get that bottom part on, I want you to grab your small brush, or the smallest one you have. Use that same watered down black that we have, and we're going to just add a thin black line around the stem of our cup. Not the stem of our cup, but the opening of our glass. We're going to do a little bit around this wine that's pouring in as well, and we're going to later go over some of that black when we add all the highlights, but this is just going to get the detail of the black around. Just going to get down here, and I'm slowly just going to, and again, watered down black is just going to go on nicer. And if your wine is not dry yet, just give it a few minutes. Pause the video and come back to it. black line around everything. Now you notice at the opening, the black line, the opening of the cup, we're only going to see at the front. Okay, because the back part is going to be hidden by the wine pouring in. So you're only going to do it here. I'm not going to put a black line here, but I'm going to put a black line behind that wine pouring in. Okay? Okay, I'm just going to add a little bit more. Lightly putting this on. If you find you need a little bit more water, add that into the black. It'll go on a lot smoother. Anytime that you're, and I'm barely touching the canvas with this. If you push a little bit too hard, then you're going to get thick black lines. We don't want that. Nice and light. And at this point here too, you can kind of bring that edge into the cup a little bit where the stem meets. Give it that nice transition. Make sure it's even on either side. Okay. Looking good. So we're just going to let this black dry a little bit. And then we're going to get into adding some white highlights around everything. Okay. So while you guys are doing that, I'm just going to wash my brush. And I'll just repeat myself a little bit about what I talked about earlier. So all these videos, again, they're on our Facebook page at East Coast Art Party PEI on Facebook. And the videos are under the video section. You can play them at any time. They're not just available at one time and done. And when you are watching, you can pause and rewind them if you're stuck or you want to take your time if you find that we're going a little bit too quick.
Jeffrey, do you know what 2/3 of single women are looking for in a companion?
No, but I bet Damon does.
Damon, 2/3 of single women say they're looking for a man who has one of these. I will say this, you are eliminating 2/3 of the women out there, because I know you do not have one of these, at least not currently. It is le petit chien.
A little dog.
A dog. You need to get a dog. You're going to have 2/3 more women approaching you, Damon.
And it's a little dog.
No, I said petit chien, but any dog will do.
Any dog. Okay, any dog. Okay.
Make sure to rescues are better.
If you're single, your odds will dramatically go up if you get a dog. Now, you obviously have to be seen with this dog, maybe on your profile pic.
Put it in your profile pic.
Put it in your profile pic.
No problem.
Go walking around the park when everything is all done and you're able to go out.
From a safe distance away.
Okay, so you're black. Just going to give it a few more minutes to dry here. So once this black is dry, you'll notice in the picture here we have a lot of white on the outside and the inside of everything. It just kind of blends everything in, gives it a nice highlight. We have a few little hashtag marks here in the SSN hashtag, a little cross hatching of white that goes along here. Give it a little bit of a shine that shows that this is light is reflecting off the glass right here. So I'm just going to give you guys another few minutes here for a drying break, and we'll be right back and we'll get the last part finished up here.
While we are doing the drying break, I will ask another trivia question for you. I have it on my cell phone. According to a new survey, who's doing these new surveys? 101 million people are now members of this group that didn't even exist 15 years ago. 101 million. What do they have now that didn't even exist 15 years ago? Think about that while your painting is drying. Get some wine.
All right, we're back. How's that paint? Should be pretty dry. This paint dries fairly quick. Okay, so the last step that we're going to do, and I'm going to use my medium brush for this because I want to, if you notice in the painting here, it's like a dry white that I'm using. It's almost very blurry. So it's not very wet. I'm not adding a lot of water to this. So clean medium brush off. Once I get a good medium brush, clean her off. Get a napkin. Get all the water off it.
I want to give the answer to the trivia question. 101 million Americans are now, or people, are now members of this group that did not exist even 15 years ago.
Costco.
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime.
Oh, Jeff Bezos, or how do you say his last name?
Bezos.
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 What a guy. Sold $4 billion of his stock right before the corona hit. Smart man. All right, so medium brush. Plain white paint. I'm going to use the thin part of my medium brush. And you'll notice it's very sketchy lines that I'm using with this, okay? So I'm not just going like a fine thin layer. I'm just kind of doing lines over and over. Okay? be able to see these sketchy lines here. Bring it down. You don't want a lot of paint on here. I'm barely touching the canvas. Just doing a lot of highlighting. All the areas where I had black before, I'm kind of going over a little bit. And then later we're going to put some more shade, well, not shading because we're using white. What's that called again, Damon?
Highlighting.
Highlighting.
Accent.
Accent. Okay, and we're going to bring it right down the shaft of the wine glass. Notice how quickly I'm working here. You don't want to move too slow, because if you move too slow, you're going to see these thick pockets of jagged lines. We don't want that. Just want it to be very, you want to see these sketch lines. Okay, we're going on the outside of the cup as well. And on either side of our wine being poured into the brush, into the glass, sorry, a little bit more white. Now you'll notice on the painting right here, I have a few lines, white lines, just kind of going like this, just to show that, yes, there is a cup here, and light is hitting this part of the glass. And add a few little white lines in this area as well. And over here, just to show that, yeah, there's a cup here. Now we're just adding a few little white spots all over. Very random with it. Notice it's not going on very wet. I'm using very dry. You don't need any water mixed in with this. Just add some highlights over. And that is pretty much it, guys. The only thing that we have left to do, what's the last thing you do in a painting?
What is the most important step?
Criticize it.
Criticize it. Turn it over. Start again. No. Sign it. So use your small brush. Use a little bit of water. You would always use a different color of like either white or black to sign a painting. So if it's very white in the bottom right hand corner, you would use a black. If it's a darker color, you'd use a white. Small brush. I do my initials. So I'm just going to quickly do a J, K. And you're tout fini. Is Leonard going to come back to discuss
He had to
a few
leave.
things?
He was drinking some wine, and
Oh, he's gone, is he?
you know,
Yeah.
he went
Got a
to
little
the,
tipsy, did he?
went to the had to go home, sleep on the couch. But I'm going to go in there real quick.
All right.
Thanks very much, Jeff.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you again.